A few months back, I took a wrong turn off Highway 101 and ended up on a road I'd never heard of. 2 lanes, no signs, cows on one side, fog on the other. And then, out of nowhere, this whole Victorian village appeared in front of me like somebody had hidden it on purpose. Pastel houses, a creamery, a man in overalls waving from a porch. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I got out because I genuinely thought I'd driven into a movie set. Turns out half of Hollywood thought the same thing. That town is on this list, so are 11 others almost nobody talks about. And if a slower, more beautiful version of your life sounds like something worth chasing, hit subscribe. I keep finding these. Number 12, Cayucos. If Cambria and Morro Bay are the popular kids on California's central coast, Cayucos is the cousin who never wanted the attention. About 2,500 people, one sun-bleached pier, a 4-block downtown where nobody walks fast because nobody's late. Founded back in 1867 by a Portuguese sea captain named James Cass, he built the original wharf to ship butter and produce up to San Francisco, and his house still stands on the bluff. They serve dinner in it now. Same wood floors, same view. Picture this. It's 7 in the morning, the fog is just lifting. You're walking down Ocean Avenue with a coffee, and a surfer crosses the street in front of you, wetsuit still dripping. The smell coming out of Brown Butter Cookie Company is unfair. A golden retriever passes you off-leash like it owns the town, because honestly, it kind of does. I'll be straight with you. Cayucos is the most expensive town on this list. Median sale prices have been hovering around $1.3 million, with most single-family homes between $900,000 and $2 million. But compared to Santa Barbara or Malibu, you're still saving hundreds of thousands, and ocean view fixers do show up in the 700s if you're patient. Here's the part that gets me. Every 4th of July, the whole town shows up to the same beach, sets up the same folding chairs in the same patch of sand, and watches fireworks that locals swear haven't changed since 1962. That's not nostalgia, that's continuity, and you can't buy that in Malibu at any price. But if we're talking real affordability, we're just getting started. Number 11, Sutter Creek. About 2.5 hours east of San Francisco, tucked into the oak gold hills of the Mother Lode, sits Sutter Creek. And I swear, walking down its main street feels like stepping into a sepia photograph someone forgot to develop. Brick storefronts, wooden balconies, wisteria spilling off the second floors. Founded in 1844, named for John Sutter. Yes, that's Sutter. And here's a fact that genuinely stopped me cold. Leland Stanford made his fortune at the Lincoln Mine right here before he ever dreamed up Stanford University, meaning the gold pulled out of these hills literally built one of America's great schools. Daily life moves at the speed of a wine pour. 40-plus Amador County wineries within 20 minutes. Barbera, Zinfandel, tasting rooms in old miners' saloons. You drink coffee on a porch. You wave at the same dog twice in one block. By evening, you're on somebody's wooden steps with a glass of red and the sound of crickets. And now, the number that matters. Median listing prices around $440,000. Gold Rush cottages from the 300s. Renovated Victorians in the $500 to $700 range. For context, the same vineyard view in Napa starts at $1.5 million. Sutter Creek delivers wine country at a third of the cost. The trade-offs are honest. Summers hit 95 degrees and the nearest big hospital is about 50 minutes out. Here's the detail I can't shake. Some summer nights, a trumpet player practices in the alley behind the old Bilotti Inn. Doesn't post about it, doesn't charge anything, just plays, and people stop on the sidewalk and listen. Honestly, I'd take a porch in Sutter Creek over a penthouse in half of California. Number 10, Mariposa. Mariposa is the front porch of Yosemite, about 45 minutes from the valley floor, and somehow, almost nobody lives here. Around 1,866 people, a single main street of weathered wood storefronts, oak-shaded hills going gold in the late sun. Founded in 1849, back when Mariposa County was so big it stretched all the way down to Los Angeles. The Mariposa County Courthouse, built in 1854, is the oldest courthouse still in continuous use west of the Rocky Mountains. The bell still rings. Now think about this for a second. Bozeman, Jackson Hole, Sedona, Estes Park, every famous national park gateway in America has been gentrified into oblivion. Median home prices, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. Mariposa, median property value around $271,000 as of 2024. You can still find foothill cabins under 300 grand, ranchettes on a few acres in the 400s. For a town this close to El Capitan, it's almost an error. Wait, let me back up. I want you to picture the morning. You're on a wooden porch, coffee in hand. The Sierra foothills are rolling gold in front of you. An hour later, you're standing at the base of a 3,000-foot granite wall. That's a Tuesday here. Honest trade-offs. Jobs are tourism-driven, winters bring chain controls on the highway, and median household income is modest. But for what you're getting, it's the deal of the decade. The detail that got me? There's a Civil War-era clock on the courthouse lawn that's been ticking since the 1860s. People in town still set their wristwatches by it. That tells you everything. Number 9, Scott Valley. Now, we go off the map for real. Scott Valley sits between the Marble Mountains and the Trinity Alps, way up in the far northwest corner of California, and most Californians have never heard of it. Honestly, say Etna or Fort Jones to someone in LA, and they'll look at you like you made the words up. Each town has roughly 700 people, settled in the 1850s as a supply hub for the gold camps. The Etna Brewery has been operating on the same site since 1872, which makes it one of the oldest brewing locations in California. And yes, they still pour pints there tonight. Imagine this. You wake up in a farmhouse. Hayfields stretch flat in every direction, ringed by snow-capped granite peaks like a movie backdrop someone painted too well. Coffee on the porch. A cattle drive comes through in spring. Actual cowboys, actual cattle, not a reenactment. Evenings smell like cut hay and wood smoke. The Marble Mountain wilderness rises straight out of your back fence. Real estate here, homes on land starting around $300,000 to $400,000. Working ranches in the $700,000 to $1 million range. For acreage and views like this anywhere near the coast, you'd be paying 10 times more. The trade-offs are real, and I'm not going to sugarcoat them. The nearest Costco is 2 hours away. Winters bring snow, and broadband can be a conversation rather than a guarantee. Every July, Etna closes its main street for an old-fashioned parade. Kids on horseback, antique tractors, one fire truck, not a single chain logo in sight. If that doesn't make something inside you ache a little, I don't know what to tell you. Number 8, Murphy's. If you've never heard of Murphy's, that's by design. The locals like it that way. About 2,200 people, a 4-block main street arched with sycamore trees, 25-plus wine tasting rooms within walking distance, which, per capita, makes it one of the wine-densest small towns in America. Founded in 1848 by the Murphy brothers, 2 of the first Anglo settlers to make it over the Sierra. The Murphy's Historic Hotel has been open since 1856 and hosted Mark Twain, Ulysses S. Grant, and a stagecoach robber named Black Bart. The original ledger with their signatures is still on display behind glass. Picture a Saturday. You walk 3 blocks, taste at 4 wineries, eat dinner at grounds, and stroll home along Murphy's Creek as the sycamores throw long shadows. Spring brings dogwood blooms. Fall turns the vineyards copper. Big Trees State Park, with sequoias older than the Bible, is 15 minutes away. The numbers. Median sale prices around $475,000. Downtown cottages in the 400s. Vineyard properties from $700,000 to $2.5 million. Compare that to Healdsburg, where the median is pushing $1.8 million for nearly identical wine country charm. Murphy's is roughly a quarter of the cost. Yeah, it really is that cheap. The image I can't get out of my head. Kids waiting in Murphy's Creek behind Main Street while their parents drink Zinfandel on the patio above. That same scene, locals say, has looked identical for 4 generations. Number 7, Bishop. Out on the eastern side of the Sierra Nevada, the lonely, dramatic side most Californians never bother to see, sits Bishop. About 3,800 people. Locals call it a small town with a big backyard, and once you see the backyard, you understand. The Sierra Crest rises 10,000 feet straight up from town. To the east, the Owens Valley stretches into the White Mountains. Founded in 1861 when a rancher named Samuel Bishop drove 500 head of cattle into the valley, the town later became the staging ground for the Owens Valley Water Wars. Yes, the same conflict that built Los Angeles and inspired the movie Chinatown. There's actual American history under your boots here. days revolve around the outdoors. Trout fishing in alpine lakes, world-class bouldering in the buttermilks, hot springs at sunset, Mammoth Mountain 45 minutes north. Mornings start at Eric Schatz's Bakery, open since 1907, with a loaf of sheepherder bread still warm enough to fog the bag. Median home price is roughly $385,000 to $500,000. Starter homes occasionally listing in the 300s. Compare that to Mammoth Lakes, where the median pushes $900,000 for the same backyard. Trade-offs: it's 4 hours to LA, summers crack 100, and the nearest big hospital is in Reno. Every Labor Day weekend, Bishop hosts Mule Days, a parade of mules, 50-plus years running. Grandparents bring grandkids and point to the bleachers where they once sat as kids. That's the texture of a real place. Quick thing before we keep going, the next few towns are even more beautiful and even more affordable than the ones we've just seen. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment, because the number one town, I genuinely had to look up twice to believe the prices were real. Trust me on this. Hit subscribe. Let's keep going. Number 6, Mount Shasta City. Some places have a view. Mount Shasta City has a presence. A 14,179-foot snow-capped volcano filling the kitchen window. Sacred to the Wintu, the Shasta, and the Modoc peoples for thousands of years before any European map ever bothered to name it. Population is roughly 3,182. The town was originally called Sisson, a railroad and logging stop in the 1880s, until they renamed it after the mountain in 1924. Daily life has this gentle, slightly otherworldly quality. Morning coffee at Berryvale Grocery, an afternoon hike to Castle Lake, a soak at Stewart Mineral Springs that makes you feel like a new person. There's a quietly spiritual current running through the place. Yoga studios, crystal shops, seekers walking in off the trailheads. But right alongside it are longtime ranchers and ski patrol families who've been there for generations. Both belong. Single-family homes range $200,000 to $800,000, with most buyers landing in the $400,000 to $500,000 window. Compare that to Bend, Boulder, or Tahoe. Shasta is a fraction. The trade-offs: 5 hours from San Francisco, real snow in winter, and a job market that's mostly tourism, healthcare, and remote work. The detail that did it for me: there's a public spring right in the center of town where locals fill jugs with snowmelt that fell on the mountain decades ago. Strangers chat in line like it's the most ordinary thing in the world. They drink the same water their grandparents drank, straight from the source. Number 5, Dunsmuir. 20 minutes south of Shasta, in a canyon cut by the upper Sacramento River, hides Dunsmuir. And the town slogan is honestly the best slogan in California: home of the best water on earth. Wild claim. Locals back it up, so did, allegedly, President John F. Kennedy, who supposedly asked for Dunsmuir water by name at the White House. Folklore? Maybe? Locals swear by it, about 1,519 people. The town didn't exist until 1886, when the Central Pacific Railroad pushed through the canyon. It's named after a coal baron, Alexander Dunsmuir, who reportedly bribed the place with a fountain in exchange for using his name. And that fountain still runs. Dunsmuir is also the only Amtrak station between Redding and Klamath Falls, Oregon, which means you can step off a train into pine-scented air at midnight and walk to your front door. Picture a creek behind your house, fly fishing at dawn, Mossbrae Falls a short walk away, train whistles drifting through the canyon at night, murals on every brick wall downtown, the Cornerstone Bakery for dinner, and the prices. This is the part that genuinely surprised me. Median home prices around $304,000 to $313,000. Cottages occasionally under $150,000. Renovated homes in the 300s to low 400s. For a riverfront mountain town in California, that's almost a typo. Yeah, it really is that cheap. I'd live here. I'd live here in a heartbeat. Number 4, Trinidad. Way up on the Humboldt coast, perched on dramatic green bluffs above the Pacific, sits Trinidad. And with a population of around 360, it's one of the smallest incorporated cities in California. Spanish explorers landed here on Trinity Sunday in 1775 and named the bay La Santísima Trinidad. The Yurok people had already been here for thousands of years before that. There are sea stacks rising offshore that look more like the west coast of Ireland than anything you expect from California. Mornings start with fog peeling off Trinidad Head. The white memorial lighthouse blinks through the mist. You walk to the Beachcomber Cafe for a pour-over, then down to the harbor where local fishermen still unload Dungeness crab on the same wharf they used 100 years ago. Afternoons, redwoods, tide pools, sunset on Trinidad State Beach where you might be, and this is not a joke, the only person on it. Real estate is small inventory but varied. Bluff View homes can run $700,000 to $1.5 million, but inland cottages and homes in nearby West Haven appear from the 400s. Compared to Mendocino with similar scenery, it's noticeably cheaper. Trade-offs are honest. 5 hours from San Francisco, fog is a lifestyle, and the entire town has fewer than 5 restaurants. The Memorial Lighthouse honors local fishermen lost at sea, and on foggy evenings you can hear the same brass bell that once warned ships off the rocks tolling slowly over an empty cove. That sound stays with you. Number 3. Point Arena. Point Arena is the only incorporated city on California's wild Mendocino coast, about 460 people, and it's wrapped around the tallest lighthouse on the west coast, 115 feet of slender white tower planted on a green sea cliff. The first lighthouse here was lit on May 1st, 1870, after a string of shipwrecks made it impossible to ignore the rocks. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake destroyed the original, and the current tower, finished in 1908, was the first lighthouse in America made of steel-reinforced concrete. It's still working. You can rent the old keepers' cottages overnight, and I genuinely think everyone should do this once. Picture a single main street ending at the sea, a 1929 Art Deco theater still showing films, an organic bakery, a co-op grocery, whales offshore in spring. Just north, 1,665 acres of cliff-walk trails at the Stornetta Public Lands, a place almost no one knows about, where the Pacific explodes white against black rock 100 feet below your boots. Median property values around $429,000 to $436,000, cottages in the high 300s, ocean view homes climbing to $800,000 and up. Compared to Mendocino Village, where comparable homes start at $900,000, Point Arena is roughly half. Trade-offs. It's 3.5 hours from San Francisco, and high-speed internet only recently arrived. The thing I keep thinking about, when the fog lifts at sunset, the lighthouse beam still sweeps the dark Pacific exactly the way it has for over 150 years. Locals up on the bluffs say they count the seconds between flashes the way other people count stars. Number 2. Nevada City. About an hour northeast of Sacramento, in the pine-covered foothills of the Sierra, sits the most beautifully preserved gold rush downtown in the entire American West, Nevada City. Population around 3,152, founded in 1849. In 1850, this place had 10,000 souls crammed into its streets chasing gold, making it briefly the third largest town in California. Then the gold faded, and here's where the magic happened. The town didn't die. It didn't modernize. It just stopped changing. So today, nearly the entire downtown is on the National Register of Historic Places. The streetlights? Still gaslit at dusk. The Nevada Theater opened in 1865 and hosted Mark Twain and Jack London, and it still hosts live performances tonight. You can walk from a Victorian B&B to a candlelit dinner in a former miners' saloon to a film festival in a 100-year-old hall. The whole place smells like pine and wood smoke. Median sale prices around $600,000. Downtown cottages in the $450 to $550 range. The largest Victorians push $700,000 to $1 million, which sounds steep until you remember you're buying actual Victorian architecture for the price of a tract home in Folsom. Trade-offs. Wildfire risk is real, and Sacramento is about 75 minutes out. Every Victorian Christmas, the town shuts down its main streets, lights every gas lamp by hand, and locals in 1860s costume pour mulled cider in the street. Visitors say it feels less like an event than like the town quietly remembering itself. This is the kind of place I keep thinking about. Honestly, number 1, Ferndale, 5 hours north of San Francisco, tucked in a green pastoral valley between the Pacific and the Redwoods, sits a town that doesn't quite feel like it should still exist. Ferndale, population around 1,525. The entire downtown is a state historic landmark, and here's the line that should be on a billboard somewhere. Hollywood has used Ferndale's Main Street as the stand-in for small-town America in Outbreak, The Majestic, Salem's Lot, and Joe Dirt, because no set designer alive can build something this real. Founded in 1852 by Seth and Stephen Shaw, who carved farms out of ferns 8 feet tall, that's where the name comes from. By the 1880s, Ferndale was the richest dairy town in California, and the wealthy dairymen built gingerbread Victorian mansions so ornate that locals nicknamed them Butterfat palaces. Most gold rush towns burned. Most got modernized. Ferndale never did. The mansions are all still standing. So picture this. You wake up in a turreted Queen Anne, stained glass over the door, original wood floors. You walk 3 blocks to a creamery that's been churning butter for over a century. You stop for coffee at Mind's Eye Manufactory, and by Tuesday, the barista has your order memorized. Cows graze where the sidewalk ends. The Pacific is 10 miles west. The redwoods are 20 miles east. Strangers wave. Doors don't always lock. Now the number that I had to read twice. Median home value around $492,000. Modest cottages from the high 300s. The famous Butterfat Palace Victorians, 4,000 square foot 1890s gingerbread mansions between $500,000 and $900,000. Meaning you can own an entire Victorian masterpiece for less than a 1-bedroom condo in San Francisco. Less than a teardown in Berkeley. Yeah, it really is that cheap. The trade-offs? It's a 5-hour drive from the Bay Area, the weather is cool and often foggy, and major shopping means 20 minutes into Eureka. That's it. That's the catch. Every Memorial Day, the town runs the Kinetic Grand Championship, a 50-mile human-powered sculpture race that's been going since 1969. Grandparents now cheer for grandkids pedaling contraptions their grandfathers built. The brass handle on the door of the Ferndale Meat Company is the same handle it's had since 1907. Your hand goes where 1,000 other hands have gone. I'll tell you the truth. I sat in my car the first time I drove into Ferndale, looking down Main Street, and I didn't move for 10 minutes because something in my chest said, this could be my life. That's what this place does to people. It doesn't sell you on a vacation. It sells you on a version of yourself you'd forgotten you wanted. If you've been waiting for a sign, for the nudge that says it's okay to want something quieter, prettier, smaller, Ferndale is that sign with a porch light on. If even one of these towns made something in you go soft, wonder, longing, the urge to pack a bag this weekend, drop the town name down in the comments. I read them. I want to know which one stole your heart. Share this with the one person you'd actually move there with, your partner, your sister, your best friend, the friend who keeps saying, we should leave the city and never does. And the subscribe button? It's right there. If you're chasing a slower, more beautiful version of your life, stick around. I keep finding these places. One foggy lighthouse, one gingerbread Victorian, one creekside porch at a time.